Hello, and welcome to the No Pricks Allowed podcast with your host, Aaron Buchner from Cactus. I'm Wendy McConnell. Today, we're going to be talking about risk. And Aaron has a little story for us about the own risks he's taken in his life.
There's too many risks. Oh, I was gonna say
Yeah.
which story? That's the question. I'm like, we'll do the less dramatic injury prone one. Well, it's still injury prone, but the not as bad. Just for you, Wendy, because you
Okay.
didn't like me talking about
I'm
certain things.
squeamish.
So, you're squeamish. Okay, I'll
Yes.
keep this PG rated. How about G rated? We'll keep it G
Sounds good.
rated.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So, you took a risk and it didn't pan out well, and you were injured.
Yes. Oh, like ongoing injuries. This is my own fault. So I thought I would be smart this year and start playing soccer because I haven't played soccer in 18 years probably, and didn't think about the fact that this soccer is not 30 minutes and we're done. This is the full 90-minute full field, like not pros by any mean, but a big field. I didn't think about the risks associated with having to stretch and actually being properly prepared for that game. Not knowing that after 90 minutes of running full tilt up and down the field, how much pain I was in for 3 days afterwards. That is how old I am right now. It
Well,
took
and
me
that's the
three
thing.
days.
That's the thing you have to remember is your body is not the same as it it can't endure the same amount
Yes.
that it did when it was younger.
Yes, my mind is still young, my body is not. And I think I have to remember that a lot. I am not as young as I think. So I didn't properly prepare for the risks associated with going back to soccer and think about how difficult it could actually be those few days after playing soccer. Yeah.
So, with the newfound knowledge, did you make adjustments moving forward or did you just quit?
Kind of, maybe. So no, I haven't quit. I still play. I still do that. But I take time to stretch leading up. Not even like 10 minutes. Like I've started stretching. We play on Fridays, and today's Thursday. It's like I started stretching yesterday, and I'm still stretching today, and I'll stretch again tomorrow, so that I don't hurt anything. Because it seems like every single time I go, I hurt something. Last week it was my calf. The week before that was my groin. I think the week before that was my ankle. It's just every time it's something new injury. It's great times for me with
So,
risk
you
factors. Yeah.
continue to just try to prepare for the potential risks so that you can
Yes.
embrace them better, right?
Exactly. Look at you pulling everything back together. Yeah.
So this is what we want to do when it comes to your risk and the
Right.
management of your risk, right, Aaron?
Absolutely. You know what? Just take it from here, Wendy. I'm done. I'm just gonna leave. You just go. This is wonderful. I'm loving this. This is my podcast, but Wendy, take it. Just go.
Well,
This
you
is
don't
why
want to do that. So we are going to be talking about risk tolerance today. And risk is okay as long as you know the risk and prepare for the risk. And that's really uh,
yes.
the principle of the story that Aaron was just sharing with us, right?
Yes, you have to know, and I think one of the biggest things which always risk is that it's that theory over actual risk that no one thinks about. So same as with soccer, I'm like, I thought I'd be okay, but when it actually happened, I was not okay. And I think that's one thing. But I wanted to talk about risk because last episode we talked about CYA and protecting yourself. So, talking a lot about risk factors and things that are out there. And I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about risk because when people usually, or when people mention risk, they think of, oh, just risk in terms of the stock market and investing, which, yes, is key. But there are other risk factors you need to think about that are outside of just an investment and how those can affect your overall risk when you're looking at money and how to properly invest and your financial goals in future. See how I did that? Nice little picture. Did I wrap that up? No. All right, there's more to go into it. Don't worry. We're not
Ah,
done there.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling, but I just wanted to kind of go back to your, your soccer playing for a moment because what you're talking about is, everybody thinks of the amount of money you can lose when it comes to stocks and investing and all that kind of stuff. But probably what happened when you played soccer for the first time in, 18 years or however long you said is you discovered muscles that you didn't even realize that you had. Like there was so much pain in so many places and that's exactly what you're saying again is it's not just about the stocks. It's not just about investing. There's other aspects, correct?
Correct. Look at you taking the analogy and wrapping it together. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Worth
I'm
your
feeling
weight.
like
You're worth your weight in gold, Wendy. Worth your weight in gold. Just
I
like
get an
that.
A for today. All right, let's talk about it more.
Let's talk about it. So we'll talk about investments first because that's what everyone always talks about. So when we look at risk factors, there's two buckets, as we'll call it. There's your risk tolerance and there's your risk capacity. So when we do risk tolerance, it's your mental ability to withstand a drop in the market. Because when you're investing for the long term and you're looking at investing for 20, 30 years or even 10 years, it's when those drops happen, and they will happen, are you okay seeing that drop in the market? Seeing a 20%, a 10%, or even a 5% drop in the market? But I find a lot of people, it's that theory versus actual. So thinking you can do it versus actual is a big difference. A lot of people, when they think of the question, oh, losing 10%, they're like, that's no big deal. I can do 10%. That's not a big deal. But when you actually look at the dollars and the cents and they see that negative money in their account, it's a different reaction completely.
Well, and again, to put it in perspective, it's like, if you have $1 million invested, what's 10% of that?
Yes, it is
100,000,
very
right?
different. Yes, very different in comparison to $10,000 invested and a 10% drop.
Exactly.
So even that over the long term, your risk tolerance at the beginning can be drastically higher than it is later because of that amount of money that you can have. But I even think of risk tolerance is kind of that ability of my child, and every time he's 7, so he thinks he can do everything, like he's his own Superman. So he sees and he's like, oh, I could do that, I could, it's like, oh, I could jump off the house and like land and be perfectly fine. And it's that thing with theory versus actual. He thinks he can do that, but he doesn't actually know the implications ahead to him when he does it. So that's how I kind of look at risk tolerance, is that what do you think that what I believe I can do versus what I actually can do. Like I think I'm okay to play soccer and I'm actually not okay to play soccer.
So how do you figure that out?
Well, I think it's you have to almost put that reality check in place of thinking, can you actually do it? And think in terms of money. It is hard when you're talking looking at a sheet of paper and saying, "Oh, I can handle 10% versus actually seeing the it happen. It's like people saying, "Oh, I know what to do in this situation. If I saw my neighbor's house burning, I would run into the house and pull out their cat and their dog." But when it actually happens, they're just going to call 911 and be like, no, 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 I'm not going into that house, but I'll call 911. I'm going to do the right thing, but I'm not going to go running into the burning building. So I think it's sometimes you have to take that reality check. As much as you believe you can take on that risk and can take a 20% drop in the market and be okay with it, you have to take a step back and go, could I really? Could, if I lost 50,000, 5,000, whatever it is today, are you okay with it? And I almost think of it, the best way I could do it to go, if you were thinking about risk tolerance and could I do it, is okay, if your potential drop is 10% and we're using $10,000, so we're talking about $1,000, could you write $1,000 check today or take $1,000 out of the bank today and burn it? And would you be okay with that? Or would you be like, no, no, I can't lose that money. I'm not going to burn that $1,000. Just almost put it into a reality aspect would be a smart way to do it.
Okay, and that's good. I like that. So think of it in the dollar amount that you would be willing to lose, and then, transfer that into the percentage. And that's, I was even just going to say, let's take what we think we can handle. Let's say it's 20%, and we'll have that. And we'll go into the 10%. But no, I think that's a very good way of looking at it, is put it into the real dollar amount.
So we'll talk about the other part of it, which is your risk capacity. So that is financially how much risk can you actually handle. So the theory part is I think I can take a 10% drop in the market, and the capacity is if that actually happens, what are the potential impacts to you and your lifestyle? So when we talk about risk capacity is, okay, what is your income level? And what is your debt load level? Because obviously, if you have a fair amount of debt and your income is, maybe you're a sole proprietor working for yourself and you don't have stable income, that's going to affect your ability to invest and how much money you can or cannot put in the market, because you need to have that buffer with the emergency fund, which we talked about before. Look at that.
Hmm. Yep. It
It
all ties together.
all ties it this just big spider web of how everything works together. But there's the other gaps. So we talked about in the previous podcast, which if you haven't listened about CYA, go back and listen to it. There's the other gaps financially, which is protection for your income with disability, with critical illness. That if you were to become ill, how is that going to impact your finances? Are they going to be protected? Are those investments going to be protected? Because no one wants to become injured and have to take out that investment nest egg that you were hoping to save for either a house or retirement and have to wipe it out because you're not protected. So I think a lot of people don't think about that one. And then the one that a lot of people don't think about is there's the other risks associated outside of your income is the job itself. How risky is the job and stable is the job? Will it still be there in a few years? Could it disappear? So that's the thing you have to think about. What about little things that I think a lot of people don't like? The house you purchase, that's a risk that people don't think about. And I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, well,
So,
sure. Be a good thing or a bad thing. My first house purchase lost almost half its value.
oh, okay, we'll dive into that one a little bit. I'm curious about that story. But I was just gonna go with the easy fact of like a turnkey house versus one that you have to upgrade and has been beat down. It's going to be a cost differential. If you buy a brand new house that's just been built that year with all new fixings, in theory, the likelihood of things breaking down is minimal compared to a house that's been out there for 30 years. The furnace, the roof, the walls, the insulation, all these costs are going to come up. So even the house is going to have that impact to your capacity. Kids, that was a great one. That one affects your finances a lot.
Yeah, I steer clear of that one. So
Yeah. So even kids, people don't think about that fact. Is like kids and how much they cost in terms of daycare costs, which are almost a mortgage payment in itself. And I only have one payment left. No, it's glorious to get rid of it.
for the mortgage or the child care.
The child, oh, the mortgage. No, I still got a few years on the mortgage. I had to
Okay.
put the new roof. I had to put the new roof on the mortgage. So there's a little bit, few extra years, but the child
Ah,
care is done.
there you go. There you go.
And then they want to be able to think about the lifestyle that you lead and the hobbies can be very expensive. There's a big difference in hobbies in terms of playing video games as a hobby at home, even though those can be expensive. Game systems and games are quite expensive versus doing something like driving RC cars or dirt biking or anything else that could be a hobby, like very different cost associated with it. And then also the risks of would you actually recover from an injury from dirt biking and be able to work. So look at all this. It all roped together, Is it?
Yes, yes. And it's funny too, because I play a lot of pickleball.
Mhm.
And some of the things that I have to purchase to coordinate that. I just purchased a brand new pair of shoes to wear while playing, and I must be playing more often. That they've worn out in like 3 months. So, again, I don't want to risk an injury. So
Yeah.
I had to go ahead and buy a new pair of shoes. These are things that people don't think about when they're talking about their
Mhm.
hobbies. You know what I mean? Like, I have to buy the paddles and the balls and the shoes and the cute little outfits. I mean, hello, skirt, there the dress. So I need all different ones and all different colors so that I can look cute every single day. And there's just a lot of money that goes into it. Everybody thinks you just buy yourself a little paddle and a ball and you're done, but no, 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 no.
No, it's not. That's a now the question. Okay, I think the question I have to do is, do your outfits coordinate with your shoes and paddles? So do you have like multiple different paddles to coordinate with the outfits, or no? Is it just one paddle? Like how extreme is this matchy match cute outfits? I want to know.
Well, I typically have white shoes, so they go with anything, right?
Like, okay.
And then I just upgraded to my paddle to a very expensive paddle. So no, I do not match my paddle with my outfit because that would be too much. That would just
That's too
yeah.
much. Okay, okay. So there's a limit. Okay, at least we know where the limit
Yeah.
is, so that's good.
Shoes will match, paddle no. So what
uh,
kinds of risks then aside from hobbies then are we talking about?
and then even just your lifestyle risk. So we deal with this a lot. How risky is your lifestyle? Do you go driving very radically on the road with a car? Are you rough to your car or gentle to your car? Do you take care of things like that? These all will have an impact. Or the lifestyle, do you travel a lot? Do you enjoy travel, or are you just sitting at home? Those lifestyles and expenses and costs are going to change drastically, and those are going to all impact that risk capacity outside of just income and debt load and how old you are. Very different things.
Oh yes, and things are constantly changing too. So how do we come up with what we kind of like I was talking about earlier, how do we know the difference between what we think we'll be okay with and what we'll actually be okay with? How about we like give everybody a questionnaire? How's that?
I don't like those questionnaires. I'm sure we've all seen them. I'm sure you've seen them. You do have a an investment account, right, Wendy? You have one
Yes.
somewhere.
Yes.
There is one.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with it, but I have one. Yeah.
Okay, you have one. So you probably filled out one of these questionnaires, and I'm sure most people they've seen it. They get the questionnaire, and it has I think it's about average about 11 questions. Even the robo advisors have it. You get about 11 questions on it, and that's it. And they're not enough in reality because those things. It's just a feeling of the day. It's how do you feel that day? Just think about it. If I woke up and had a rough night's sleep because my kids wouldn't go to bed the night before and I just happened to play soccer, so now I wake up on 5 hours of sleep with a sore back and a twisted ankle, my feelings towards investing and risk are going to be very different compared to if I just got a promotion at a job and I had a wonderful night's sleep and my wife made me breakfast in the morning. My risk tolerance will be drastically different because my mood is going to be so extremely different that day. I always laugh at the one question they put out there, which is the uh, how much tolerance can you do on a sheet of paper? And you're looking at, oh, would you want something that goes 0 to +2 or something that's -5 to +8? And that little difference, it's going to, that one is going to be the question. It depends on your mood. How do you feel that day? If you're in a crabby mood, you're like, well, I don't want to lose any money. I'm in pain. I'm horrible. Like, no, give me the 0 to 2. I'm happy. I'm like, oh, I want the 20. Like, I want that 20. Never mind the -10. I'm getting the 20. I'm in a good mood today.
So we need to change our investment strategy every single day then. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, every day you wake up out of bed, relook at your finance. No, please don't do that.
You
Please
weren't
do
supposed to say
not.
yes.
But no, it's just the because the question here just takes the snapshot of the day. It's the flavor of the week. How do you feel like at that time? Because I can guarantee you, if you take it that year and then take it the next year or even 6 months later, the same questionnaire, maybe they'll tweak the words a little different. You're going to answer it slightly different every single time. So going back to what you said, it's, oh, if I felt like I could take on a 20% -20 and be okay, cut it in half. You're probably thinking you can take on a lot more risk than you are capable of when you look at the investments.
When we're talking about risk, I always hear don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just, do one thing, we should be diversifying, right?
Yes, absolutely. And when we even go into risk factors, like your accounts can be different. They don't have to be the same. So even the risk factors and what are in them can be different because when you don't even look at the longevity of how long you're investing, short term versus long term, affecting the investment choices. In our case, if you're using a tax free savings account and a registered retirement savings plan, both for long term investing for retirement, they can be invested differently because you might need access to the funds earlier on than expected. So your RRSP, your retirement savings plan, can have a slightly higher risk because you're most likely not going to pull that money out because of the tax implications, but your tax-free savings account might be a lower risk because you might have to pull that money out for an unseen expense if your emergency fund still has to be filled up. So you can have those different risk factors. Don't assume every single account should be the same risk factor associated with them. They absolutely can be different. And
Okay.
then even your account, Wendy, can be different than your spouse's account in terms of the risk tolerance. They don't have to match. Even if you both have the same goal because you guys have a financial plan and the two of you sat down with a planner. I'm looking at you hopefully nodding on all this, and you're aligned on your goals and know how much you want to save, but your risk tolerance can be different. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But that's where working with that financial planner like myself, we can find that medium ground between the two and go, okay, Wendy's tolerance is this level, his tolerance is this level. How do we put them together to reach that long-term goal as best so that you're not losing your mind when investments go down because you're not risky. You're here with me doing podcasts, and that's not very risky. Not at all, right?
You don't know me. You don't know my world. You don't know my life. Um, but that's actually a really good idea is to have a different risk tolerance between like two different accounts because that way you're kind of covered, where one could be making a lot of money, one could be losing a lot of money, but if you both have the same, then you're both, losing a lot of money or
Mhm.
gaining a lot of the gaining a lot of money is okay, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good idea. It's something I guess that I've never really thought about before, but yeah, that's I like it. I like it, Aaron.
You like it? Taught you something new again today. I am on a roll here. Look at this.
You
Podcast
are.
is working out, teaching Wendy things.
I know. Pretty soon, I won't need you at all. All right, so Aaron, let's wrap it up.
I don't want to wrap it. I got one more thing. When you're trying to push me out, Wendy, you're trying to close this down. I got one more thing. You have to take on risk to have some kind of return. But long term does not mean you take on more risk than you necessarily need to. I know a lot of people when they're starting out investing, they're like, oh, 30 years, I can take on more risk because of the time frame. You don't have to take on more risk if you don't feel like it. Don't assume because I have this longer window, I can take on higher risk, going back to the risk tolerance and what you believe you can take. I believe if you're going to invest steady growth at a good rate that you're comfortable with is going to allow you to sleep a whole lot better and relieve the anxiety you're going to have about money versus a radical ride of pluses and minuses every single year and early heart attacks or loss of sleep or gray hairs. The early, just even keeping things level and slow and steady always works out in the end because you got to enjoy life. Investments shouldn't freak you out. They should make you happy. You should be enjoying life at the time, not panicking on a regular basis about those investments.
So, in my day, the days of yore, we were used to be told that you should take your age and make that like a split. Say you're 40 years old, then
Mhm.
you should have like 40 high risk, 60 safe. Is that days of yore type of theory, or do we still follow that somewhat?
We still follow that somewhat. That's still a good rule of thumb. Just as a starting point, is always add a little bit of security with those safe funds to reduce that minus 20 that could happen to at least a minus 15 and just drop that little bit down to you. So yes, it very much is. It's changed a little bit when you get closer to retirement because those save funds don't perform as well as they used to. Things have changed a little bit, but it's always a good rule of thumb of, okay, don't go 100% into equities. Have a little bit of safety net in there in your investments just to reduce that risk and make it more palpable for yourself. Make sure that you can live with that investment and be like, okay, I'm okay with this. I'm comfortable with returns, and it's not a huge roller coaster up down for the next 30 years of your life.
And then you can feel safe and secure.
No one feels safe and secure. Come on, I got kids. I'm never safe.
You just finished that off with a big bow on top, Aaron. What can I say?
So, you ever happy with that?
So, if somebody has more questions about what we've been talking about today, how do they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can reach me at my website at prickfree.com. And you can always email me at aaron@prickfree.com. And then I'm on social media like crazy now. So, and those will be in the show notes depending on what account you guys want to follow. It's all there.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you, Aaron. It is always what's the word I want to use? It's always a pleasure. That's not the right one. It's always fascinating. There you go.
Hey, I'll take fascinating. That's okay. A
Okay.
worthwhile experience. Is that will do?
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.
Thank you for listening to the No Pricks Allowed podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.prickfree.com or give us a call at 613-876-9899. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Cactus. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. The contents of this podcast do not constitute an offer or solicitation for residence in any other jurisdiction where either Aaron Buchner and/or Sterling Mutuals is not registered or permitted to conduct business. The opinions expressed are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Sterling Mutuals, Inc. Mutual funds provided through Sterling Mutuals, Inc. Commissions, trailing commissions, management fees, and expenses all may be associated with mutual fund investments. Please read the prospectus carefully before investing. Mutual funds are not guaranteed, their values fluctuate frequently, and past performance may not be repeated.